In the Bible, in Matthew, and this is in the New Testament, so I'm sure you guys use the King James Version?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the King James Version. Right in the beginning, it says, Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, to whom was born Jesus Christ. Is that correct? So who was the father of Joseph?
God. Of Joseph?
Of Joseph. Wow, man, how
no,
many kids does God have?
No, God. Jesus was.
Jesus was the father of Joseph?
No, God was the father of Jesus. What was your question?
It says, and Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary. So who is the father of Joseph?
It says Jacob.
It says right there, right? Now, in the same Bible, when we go to Luke, now Jesus began his ministry at about 30 years of age as being the supposed son of Joseph, the son of Heli. So who's the father of Joseph here?
Son of Heli.
So who's the father of Joseph?
Now, the reason I left that pause in there is because there's a lot for us to gather from this, right? This is a learning experience. And the point I'm trying to get you to realize is Uthman is leading her down a trap. Now, the reason, these are the kind of reasons why I would say people like Uthman are deceptive and they're very slippery. Because I'm pretty sure Uthman knows the common Christian answers to what he's presenting. But he will still go around and still present this as if he's some ignorant person, like he doesn't know. Now, she's obviously, I assume, not an apologist. She said it before, she's not a scholar. And the reason I left that pause in is because obviously in that moment, she's thinking to herself, I would assume, well, I've read one thing in one place, I've read another thing in another place. I don't know how to answer. And there's nothing wrong. This is why I want to impress upon you as a Christian. There's nothing wrong with being put in a position and you just say, I don't know the answer. It seems like, I'm not sure. It may seem like a contradiction. It may seem problematic. I don't know. I'm going to go and research it. I'm going to go and look it up, etc. Because most of the things online that are presented in this, like this, for example, there's good answers for them. So Uthman probably knows the answer to this. The common answer to this question is that Matthew's gospel is dealing with Joseph and Luke's gospel is dealing with Mary. And there's multiple reasons why that's the case.
And what is your point?
Is that a clear contradiction?
I don't know.
And this is why you have to be careful, because I mentioned this previously. Uthman, people like Uthman are trying to set traps for you. They're trying to put you down in this dilemma. So it's like they've had this conversation about Bible contradictions, all this different kind of stuff, and now he's presented an alleged contradiction, and she doesn't know what to do. So she's like, "What's your point?" Instead of just to be like, "Well, look, I just don't know. I don't know how to answer this, or I'll get back to you, or I can look into it." My point is just to keep this simple. If you find yourself in a hole, don't dig deeper into the hole. Just climb out of the hole and just say, I don't know. It's very simple.
Take a look at it.
I don't believe the Bible has contradictions, so that's maybe a different person with different records. I don't know.
Okay, so what's your father's... Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Nidhi, right? Right? What's your father's name?
My father's name
If you don't mind me asking. You can give me a fake one if you like. It doesn't matter.
It's actually a good example because most people call him Bill. He would write his name as Bill. But someone else, like his parents who named him Wilhelm, might say Wilhelm. So that could be the same thing.
And that is a reasonable answer. That's something maybe she's thinking about on the spot. I think she goes on to allude. She goes on to allude about she's made notes on this stuff, etc. But yeah, even in the Bible, there's multiple times you have people with two different names. Now, what Uthman will do, which is what a lot of people do, is they're like, well, these names, as you keep going up in the family tree, are different. This is one of the clues as to why Christians will say this are two different genealogies about two different people. Because Luke, focusing on when you read through his gospel on Christ's humanity, goes all the way back in the genealogy to Adam. Matthew is focused on Jesus as the Messiah, the King. So he goes back to that beginning, which makes sense. He talks about Abraham, he talks about David. These are the key figures in Israelite history which lead down to the Messiah. The promise of the Messiah came to Abraham, then it came to David, etc. Now Jesus is the next one in that line, the trio, so to speak.
My dad's name is Bill. Someone else writes his name is Wilhelm.
I got you. Relax. So your father's name is Bill or Wilhelm, right? Here you have Heli and Jacob. But when you keep going, Matat is different as well. Milchi is different as well. In fact, there are 14 missing generations in one.
Now, it's like he conflated so much stuff there. Like, even in the worst case scenario, you could just turn around and say, well, all of the names are different. They're all different. And you could go down that rabbit trail if you wanted to. They're just different. Luke is documenting different names, etc. But you don't have to do that, right? One is presenting Mary's genealogy, the natural genealogy, Luke. One is referencing Joseph. And that deals with this argument. All anyone can pretty much say at that point is, well, but they both say Joseph. And this isn't a problem. There's passages in the Bible, First Chronicles, I believe it's chapter 2, or First Chronicles chapter 3, talks about a servant being married into a family and he's named after the father's name, even though he's a servant, etc. It's the same sort of thing. If Joseph is marrying Mary, he would now be the person, the son of, right, of Heli. So Heli would be, for example, Mary's dad's name, etc. But Joseph is married into the family. I'm pretty sure Uthman knows this. I'm pretty certain of it. But when you're not seeking fundamentally for truth, you will leave these things out. You won't present these things or discuss these things, or you'll still make arguments which you know have good answers to, because it doesn't help your case.
In fact, they don't even go to the same son of Abraham. So one of these genealogies doesn't match the other.
I have gone through that, and I don't know if it's the same thing, but I have gone through that and found that the one genealogy went to Joseph's line,
Okay.
and one went to Mary's line.
Sure, which...
And she, see? So she knows enough, and you have to bear in mind, Uthman is a skilled speaker, a skilled debater, just for lack of a better term. She isn't. So he's framing this in a certain way. Notice he didn't even say no. He's just like, okay, which one?
Which one went to which?
I'm not sure.
This says the son
And because she doesn't know,
of Heli. So this is
obviously not that one.
So this is Joseph's, right? Do we agree? Okay. Let's go back to the first one then. This one says Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, not Mary. So this one is also Joseph's. So which one is Mary's?
see? So like I mentioned previously, at this point, all you would have to do is highlight examples in the Bible where you have someone marrying into a family and being named after that person's name. And at that point, you wouldn't be able to say much, if anything.
Jacob
And again, I'm pretty sure he knows this. I'm pretty sure he's heard this argument.
and Heli.
Oh, no. You said one of these genealogy goes through Mary.
No, the one I've studied, there's at least 4, right?
There's 2 that I know of. If you know another one, then let me know. And I'm showing you both. And both of them only go through Joseph. And they don't match throughout. This is not a debate. When you go home, do a side-by-side reading.
Well, I'm going to have to look at my notes because I
Good.
studied it thoroughly and I wrote down all the names.
Excellent.
One was Joseph's and one was Mary's.
So I'm showing you both. Which one is Mary's?
And imagine if he caught what he said, when you go home, look at them side by side, which is fine to do that. But at the same time, like I said earlier, when you have questions, don't ever as a believer think that you're in some isolation. More likely than not, questions you have been answered at some point before in a very reasonable way.
No, but this is, you're both are Joseph's here on this
Okay.
side.
So these are the only 2 ones,
More.
not that I know of, and I've read the
I studied all
Bible.
4 Gospels. I'll just have to review that.
I don't believe there's any other genealogies in the Gospels for Jesus except these 2. You can look it up if you have. You can Google it. When you go home, go through your Bible. Again, if you see when I'm telling you the truth, as a seeker of truth, then you can seek the truth at home. We're not here to put anybody in the spot. It's to open your mind. I studied the Bible. I love Jesus, as it says on my hat, right? I love Moses. I love Abraham. I love Muhammad. Peace be upon all the prophets. We love them all. But we should always want to follow the truth, not just where you're born, not just what you're raised with. If you see something to be the truth,
I
you
wasn't
should...
raised with this, actually. It's where God led me.
I'm not saying you were, right? But I'm just saying that just because you're raised with something, or if you go somewhere, doesn't mean that that has to be the truth, right? I was raised going to church myself. I went to all different types of churches. But have you ever read the Quran?
Parts of it.
Yeah. Read the whole thing. I'll give you one as a gift, free, right? And
I think I have one.
It's funny, like, I'll bring this up again. He's saying read the whole Quran. What do you think she's going to find out about the Quran? Or what do you think she's going to find out about the Bible when she reads the Quran? Uthman knows what the Quran says about the Bible. He knows it. Muslims have known this for hundreds and hundreds of years. This is how they got to this belief that, oh no, the Bible's corrupted. And they started to make this sort of case because they realized, hold on, we have a problem here, i.e. the Islamic dilemma. The Quran continues to say that the Torah, the Gospel, the Injil is God's word. But the Torah we've had and the manuscripts which back up the Torah we have and the manuscripts of the Injil, the Gospel from the time of Muhammad, we have manuscripts from that time period, and we've got manuscripts from before that time period, and we've got manuscripts after that time period. The manuscripts in large part are all the same. So this is why the Islamic dilemma is so powerful, because the only way to get around this is just to start making stuff up, which doesn't make sense, which isn't true to what the Quran actually says.